So what do I think are the finest acting Oscar nominations of the 2000s of people who didn't win? Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. I am very excited to talk about some truly astounding, wonderful, all-timer acting Oscar nominations of the 2000s. I've made this video for the 2010s, and over the next few months, I'll be giving ranking videos and different things about the 2000s. This was a wonderful decade at the Academy Awards, and it was tough, guys. It was tough to whittle this down to 10 people. I had about 27 to start with, and then I had to get it down to 10, and yeah, it was hard, but this is my list. I feel pretty good about it. Let's start with number 10, Best Supporting Actress, Shere Aghdashloo, House of Sand and Fog.
Do not lie to me, I heard him. Who was that man? Tell to me, Behrani, Beman Begu, what have you done?
So this is my favorite Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination of the 2000s that didn't win. This is it. This I think is the best one. I've talked about this in previous videos. I really don't like that Oscar win in Supporting Actress that year for Renee Zellweger in Cold Mountain. I might have chosen it as the worst acting Oscar win of all time. I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far. It's bad. It's bad. I'll just say that. And that year, early 2004, I was rooting for Shere Aghdashloo to win for House of Sand and Fog. I'm not even sure if she won any major precursors, but there seemed to be a little buzz building toward her because she was the main alternate in the category that seemed like a potential spoiler. She is devastating in House of Sand and Fog. That movie completely destroyed me. I went into it not even knowing what the story was. I just knew it was Jennifer Connelly and Ben Kingsley. That was about all I knew. And I was just in tears at the end. I thought that was such a powerful film. The entire ensemble is extraordinary. I'm so happy Kingsley got an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, well deserved. But I do think the best performance in that movie is by Aghdashloo, one of the most complex mother roles I've seen in the movies. She wants to make a good life for her husband and her son, but she knows it's going to be a very difficult road, and as all of the complications of the narrative come into focus in the second half, she becomes, in a way, the voice of reason in that movie. And where her character ends up, how this movie ends is so tragic, it's so sad. Even though she didn't win the Oscar that night, I am thrilled Shere Aghdashloo has had a pretty robust career over the last 20 years. In voice work, live action work, I see her all the time in film and TV and stuff. Her voice. Her gravelly voice is so striking, and she's always been great. I've really enjoyed her in things, but her best performance by far is in House of Sand and Fog. Number 9, Best Actress, Renee Zellweger, Chicago.
Hey, great mention of you on the trip today, huh?
There have been so many, I just can't keep track.
So speaking of Zellweger, so I might not really like that win for Cold Mountain. I don't think that was really deserving, but I do think there's one frickin' fantastic Oscar nomination for Zellweger, and that came the year before in Best Actress for Chicago. That was a race, man. I'll probably have to make a video on that at some point. I never have. Best Actress 2002, Renee Zellweger, Chicago versus Nicole Kidman, right? For the Hours. She won it by a nose, according to Denzel Washington. And that was true because Zellweger won at SAG. She won Best Actress at SAG and definitely had a shot. She had just been nominated at the Oscars the year before for Bridget Jones's Diary. So had Nicole Kidman for Moulin Rouge. So, we'll never know, but I bet it was very close. Chicago won the Oscar for Best Picture, and she's in the Best Picture winner. Catherine Zeta-Jones won Best Supporting Actress. So Zellweger on her second nomination in 2 years and giving just a sublime musical performance in that. comedic performance, dramatic performance, you cannot look away from Zellweger in Chicago. She was the perfect casting for Roxy Hart. She is a force of nature in that movie, and I mean, that would have been a great Oscar win. She's won twice now. She's won for Cold Mountain. She's won for Judy. And I like that win for Judy more than other people. I know a lot of people are just like, no. About the Judy win, I'm like, the Judy win is much better, I would say, than Cold Mountain. But I think in a career of some many wonderful performances, like, if she's going to have 2 Oscar wins, one of them should be for Chicago. That's her best work in a movie, I would say. And it's absolutely one of the best acting Oscar nominations of the 2000s. Number 8, Best Supporting Actor, Jackie Earle Haley, Little Children. So Shere Aghdashloo is my choice for the finest Best Supporting Actress Oscar nominee of the 2000s who didn't win. My choice for the finest Best Supporting Actor Oscar nominee of that decade who didn't win, it's Jackie Earle Haley for Little Children. What a frickin' phenomenal performance he gives in Todd Field's film from 2006. I mean, Little Children is not an easy watch at times. It deals with some troubling themes, very adult material, characters who have grave disturbances, who are often on the brink of madness and chaos. And in a film that has one spectacular dramatic performance after another, including Kate Winslet, who got a Best Actress nomination that year at the Oscars for Little Children. So well deserved. We will get to Winslet in a moment. But I think the most inspired Oscar nomination for that movie, which was my second favorite film of 2006, I saw it twice in the theater. That's how much I loved Little Children. I think it's such a great film. Jackie Earle Haley making it into the Oscars in supporting actor. I mean, just wow. Wow, that happened. I feel like there would have been enough Academy members who just did not really take to the subject matter of Little Children. Winslet was, of course, an established actress by 2006. She had a few Oscar nominations behind her, so her getting into Best Actress makes sense. But Jackie Earle Haley, like, this was kind of a comeback role for him. He'd been in a few things here and there for decades, but really since his days of like being a child actor in films like The Bad News Bears, he hadn't like had much of a film career. This role in Little Children as a child molester who was living at home with his mother and trying to like live somewhat of a normal life, and how everyone in this community is going after him one day after the next. The challenge of playing that character and everything he brings to it. Jackie Earle Haley just gives a stunning performance in that movie, and I couldn't believe it on Oscar nominations morning when he got in. I was like, wow, you know, we could see past this very difficult subject matter and recognize the power of his performance. This is a great Oscar nomination. Number 7, Best Actor, Nicolas Cage, Adaptation.
Writing is a journey into the unknown. It's not building, one of your model airplanes.
What a thrill this movie was, opening weekend at the end of 2002. I was just like grinning ear to ear throughout the entire thing, watching these 3 great actors do some of their finest work, right? Chris Cooper is just, he's hilarious. He is unpredictable. I'm so happy he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor that year. You have Meryl Streep, who had kind of a lull in the 1990s. I think she's even said that herself. Like, she kept getting Oscar nominations by the end of the 90s for films like One True Thing and Music of the Heart, but Adaptation showed her in a new light. She was sexy and vibrant, and she was funny. There was a new side to her in that movie I really enjoyed. And then Nicolas Cage, man. Nicolas Cage in Adaptation. I would say even by 2002, he was taking on some big films like that went to theaters. He wasn't in the land of like direct-to-video mediocrity yet. but he had been in some stinkers for a while there, and Adaptation was a return to form. It showed that in the right material, with the right director, he can be a phenomenal actor. He proved this recently, I would say, in Dream Scenario, which I thought he was amazing in, and an Adaptation playing twin brothers who are completely different from each other in the way they carry themselves and their outlooks on life. One is like really depressed and anxious. The other one's kind of bumbling but confident, and so many scenes in Adaptation, they're both on the screen together, and so it is a really remarkable dual performance where there's a lot of comedy, a lot of drama. Adaptation is a medley of many genres, right? I mean, by the end, it's like an action film, and that's kind of the point of Adaptation. Like, there's so much meta happening in that screenplay by Charlie Kaufman, and Nicolas Cage came to play, man. He came to play in that movie, give it 110%. You forget you're watching Nicolas Cage. He really does become those two guys, and by the end, I was just like knocked out by his performance. I'm so happy he got the Oscar nomination. Maybe in a less competitive year, he might have had a shot to win, but that was the year of like Jack Nicholson and About Schmidt, and Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York. Adrian Brody won for The Pianist. Like, it was just such a competitive year. For a more comedic film, it just wasn't going to happen. But Nicolas Cage getting that Best Actor Oscar nomination for Adaptation, I frickin' love it. Number 6, Best Actress, Gabourey Sidibe, Precious.
Beat me, rape me, call me an animal, make me feel worthless.
Alright, Best Actress for 2009. I've talked about that race on the channel before. I have mixed feelings about that because Sandra Bullock is my favorite actress. She has been since I saw Speed in 1994. I have always adored her. I adore her to this day. I love that she has an Academy Award. For many years, I never thought she'd even be nominated, honestly. I was like, she's not the kind of actress, even though I love her, who's necessarily going to get Oscar nominated, I just never thought that would happen. And then The Blind Side comes along, just one of the most stunning years of her career, having The Proposal in the summer, having The Blind Side in November, and just having these two smash hits. And the Academy decided the following March, this is time to reward Sandra Bullock. But what was the best performance in the category? I don't even think it was close. It was Gabourey Sidibe for Precious, who was just absolutely spectacular in that movie. Especially for an actress I don't think had ever been in a movie before. Wasn't that her debut performance? She was a student at the time, and she went to an audition, an open call, and director Lee Daniels had her read a few times. I think he brought her back once or twice, and he was like, this is the girl. This is Precious. This is who I want in this movie. And she is just astonishing in Precious, from one scene to the next. It's so real, so authentic, so moving. That scene of her crying in the classroom to her teacher, I always think about that scene. It's just one of the best acted scenes, I would say, of 2009. There's just nothing artificial to her performance, of this overweight teen girl who's got just an absolute demon menace of a mother. This girl just trying to get through the days and dreaming of a better life. It's such a great film. It's easily Lee Daniels' best work. And that central performance by Gabourey Sidibe is a total stunner. I mean, she was never going to win, I think, because, there's a lot of things that go into winning Oscars. And I feel like because she was so new, and also in that category, you have Meryl Streep and Sandra Bullock, more established actors and things. It was going to be hard for Sidibe to win the Academy Award for that, but it would have been well-deserved. And I think looking back now, sorry, Sandra, I love you. The person who should have won Best Actress that year at the Oscars was Gabourey Sidibe. Number 5, Meryl Streep, Doubt.
But I have my certainty. And on with that, I'll go to your last parish. And the one before that. If necessary, I'll find a parent. Trust me, Father Flynn, I will.
All right, so this one's interesting in that you could really pick any one of those 4 Oscar-nominated performances from Doubts and put it on this list. Like, I very much thought about Viola Davis in supporting actress. That would have been a great performance to put here, as would have Amy Adams and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Everybody in that movie is firing on all cylinders, but I gotta go with Meryl Streep, who I would say next to the Bridges of Madison County, you know, when I get to my 90s acting Oscar nominations list, you'll probably see that one. I think next to that movie, the best performance Meryl Streep has ever given in a movie that didn't win the Oscar, it's Doubts. She is absolutely incredible in Doubts. If you had any doubts as to like her talents, like if she can fully transform into a character, like she had done some questionable performances by the mid-2000s. I mean, look at Prime and Lions for Lambs and Rendition and Evening. And there was like a period there where not everything was hitting with critics and audiences for her. But then we get to 2008 for Meryl Streep and just frickin' wow. That summer, we have the giant box office hit, Mamma Mia, which I think is still like her worldwide like biggest movie ever. And then in December, we get Doubts. I mean, can there be 2 more polar opposite performances than Streep in Mamma Mia and Doubts? You know, like, wow, like that's the same person, and that it's the same year, and that both movies performed very well with audiences, maybe not with critics when it came to Mamma Mia. I just thought by 2008, maybe we had seen, you know, all of the greatness we would ever see from Streep. And that wasn't the case, because her performance in Doubt it brought me to tears. She is so moving at the end. She is so volatile, you know, in that one key scene with Philip Seymour Hoffman where they go at each other. I mean, it's just one of the thrilling acting moments of 2008 easily. The material in that film by John Patrick Shanley is so strong that to have someone at the level of Meryl Streep, someone of her caliber, I mean, you just can't look away. Doubt is one of her masterclass movie performances for the ages, and I do think it's easily one of the finest acting Oscar nominations of that decade. Number 4, Best Actor, Colin Firth, A Single Man.
He left you after 9 years. Jim and I were together for 16 years, and if he hadn't died, we'd still be together.
I still remember the experience of watching A Single Man for the first time. I was 25 years old. I had recently come out of the closet, and you know, there were certain films I saw around that time that really helped me, that showed characters living the life I wanted to live, that showed characters dealing with insecurities and problems that I was definitely dealing with at the time. There's 2 films still to talk about here, 2 performances. The first one to discuss is Colin Firth in Tom Ford's 2009 masterpiece, A Single Man, my choice for the best film of the year. I saw it on a Friday night and I loved it so much that I brought some friends with me back on that Sunday to watch it a second time. Both times I was in tears. I find that film, that story, so moving. I think Julianne Moore is a hoot in that. Would have made a great Oscar nomination in Best Supporting Actress. And at the center of that movie is Colin Firth's best work, I would say. It's still kind of weird to me that he won an Oscar for Best Actor the next year for a good performance in The King's Speech. But I look back on that time and I'm like, his win should be for A Single Man, you know? Like, that's the movie he should have won the Oscar for. It wasn't going to happen because that was the movie's only Oscar nomination that night. Like, it didn't get anything else, which is just crazy to me. Like, the score, the cinematography, Julianne Moore, there are so many wonderful things about that movie. But I guess if it's going to receive one Oscar nomination, then yeah, it should be Colin Firth in Best Actor. I'm happy he at least got in, because that would have been a snub I would have been like so pissed about for years and years after the fact. There's just so many wonderful acting moments from him in that movie. when he learns that his partner has died, and we just sit with him for a while. As he cries in that chair, you have his moments with Julianne Moore where he's a little bit more, upbeat and things. But as the movie goes on, even in his happier moments, you can tell this is a man dealing with intense grief and just trying to get through the day. Those flashback scenes he shares with Matthew Goode are something else, man. Those are just the loveliest scenes. Their chemistry is off the charts, and just like no matter who he's sharing his scenes with, Colin Firth, I think, is a revelation in a single man. It is one of my favorite movie performances of the last 20 years, and I just think that is one phenomenal Oscar nomination. Number 3, Best Actress, Kate Winslet, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I'm not gonna tiptoe around your marriage or whatever it is you got going there. If you want to be with me, you're with me.
What is the best Kate Winslet Oscar nomination? Sometimes I go back and forth between this film and Little Children. I also love that nomination too, but I've already talked about Little Children in this video. And in a tight race, if I had to choose, what is the really inspired Winslet Oscar nomination? I do think it's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which came out in March of 2004. Could have been forgotten, right, by the Academy. Maybe it could have gotten into original screenplay, which it won, which was, a fantastic win. 2004 was a very competitive year in Best Actress. They could have passed over Winslet that time, but they didn't, right? They saw the value in her performance in that movie, what she's doing beyond just her physical transformation, all the different looks to her hair and things. It's a beautifully complex performance of comedy and drama all the way through. Her chemistry with Jim Carrey is just unreal in that movie. I mean, I'm a lifelong Jim Carrey fan. I think that's the best work he's ever done in a movie. That he didn't get an Oscar nomination in Best Actor for that has troubled me. I haven't been happy about that for 20 plus years now, but at least Kate Winslet got into Best Actress, right? That was important to happen. I'm so happy it did. I mean, just from those early moments on the train all the way to that devastating final scene that she shares, most of the time with Jim Carrey. She is just so much fun to watch in that. You never know like what's going to happen next with her character, what kind of scene we're going to get. But no matter how funny or lightweight or serious or emotionally draining her scene might be in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, you're in very good hands of one of the greatest actors of her generation. Kate Winslet has always been great. She continues to blow my mind in one project after another, whether it's film or TV, but one of her very best performances, maybe her best of all time, is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Number 2, Best Actor, Heath Ledger, Brokeback Mountain.
And I ain't fooling. What I don't know. All them things that I don't know.
I mean, what can I say, right? What can I say about this performance, this movie, the legacy the late, great Heath Ledger gave us? He had some wonderful performances throughout his much too brief career. His all-timer Oscar-winning performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight is one of his finest moments, of course. But my favorite performance of Ledger's will always be Ennis in Brokeback Mountain. I was not out of the closet yet in the fall of 2005. I was wrestling with a lot of feelings, I was about a year away from finally telling people that I was gay, and Brokeback Mountain meant a lot to me that year. I mean, I saw it 3 times in the theater. It was a rare movie that made me cry while I was watching it, and after I left, right? Driving home, I'm still crying, just That story is so sad, it's so moving, it's so beautifully handled by director Ang Lee. He cast the right people for that film. Michelle Williams is so great in that. I'm so happy she got an Oscar nomination. Jake Gyllenhaal, still to date, his only Oscar nomination, which is crazy. But Heath Ledger is the heart and soul of that movie. And even if he was still with us today, I would still consider his performance in Brokeback Mountain one of the finest of the 2000s, but with him dying at such a young age, that shocking, tragic death that made all of us stop in our tracks, that terrible moment in January of 2008, his death, in a way, has made his performance in Brokeback Mountain all the more haunting, all the more memorable. We look at a career that was stopped short. And I mean, imagine what Heath Ledger would have given us these last, 15 plus years. It would have been extraordinary. And so when we think about Heath Ledger, we think about the few films he did give us, and we see the power he had as an actor in Brokeback Mountain, how he doesn't have to say anything. We know through his eyes, we know through his expressions, how he's feeling, what he's thinking from moment to moment. Everything feels right about his performance in that movie. The confusion he feels in those early scenes, that moment when Jack comes back and they share that embrace and he kisses him, just like the joy on Ennis in that moment is something else. And then those last few scenes, that moment in the closet. I mean, I can't even talk about it, guys. I can't even talk about that moment. It just always brings me to tears. Him holding the jacket, and just remembering this man he loved, and that final moment of him looking at the photograph on the door. I mean, Heath Ledger. Oh my God, I'm crying. Jesus. Heath Ledger was such a special actor, right? He had so much talent, so much promise. Even though he's been gone now for many, many years, I am still in awe of Heath Ledger. He was such a special actor, and even though I also, of course, adore his work in The Dark Knight, his crowning achievement as an actor will always be in Brokeback Mountain. Okay, I'm okay. I'm okay, guys. Oh my gosh. I mean, Brokeback Mountain, man. The things that movie does to me. All right, my number one choice. What do I think is the finest acting Oscar nomination of the 2000s? Someone who didn't win. This was actually pretty easy for me. Going through the lists, of the 4 categories over those 10 years, I was like, what was the most stunning performance here that got in at the Oscars but didn't win? My number one choice is Best Actress, Ellen Burstyn, Requiem for a Dream.
I like thinking about the red dress and the television and you and your father. Now when I get the sun, I smile.
So I just talked about this performance, this Best Actress race, in a new video, why Julia Roberts won the Oscar for Erin Brockovich. I talk about how I really, really love that performance by Roberts and Erin Brockovich. I think it's a solid Best Actress Oscar win. I'm happy she has an Academy Award in her house, right? I'm happy she won, but at the same time, I had to also talk in that video about the best performance in the category was by far, I would say, Ellen Burstyn in Requiem for a Dream, which is truly, I would say, one of the great performances in the movies, of all time. What she does in that film by Darren Aronofsky is frickin' unbelievable. The physical transformation, the emotional transformation, what is required of Burstyn to do in that movie? It's kind of insane. I feel like very few actors would have had the courage to go there in Requiem for a Dream. And it's not like she was working with a director who'd been around for 20, 30 years and she could really trust him from the get-go. Darren Aronofsky had only made one feature film before, right? Pi, 1998, so he wasn't like established yet. And Ellen Burstyn's career like went back to the 60s. She has Oscar nominations up the wazoo in a variety of films. She won the Best Actress Academy Award for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And so like by 2000, for her to put all her trust into this young director, Darren Aronofsky, and just go for a ride, man, and just give herself over to that character in all of her flaws, in all of her madness, and by the third act of Requiem for a Dream, we are seeing an actress on screen just feasting, like with delicious fervor, every chaotic moment of what that character is going through. Darren Aronofsky in Requiem for a Dream puts Ellen Burstyn through the ringer, man. And by the end, you are just trying to catch your breath. And you have to remember, like, this is Ellen Burstyn. This is Ellen Burstyn in this movie. Like, you forget you're watching her and you are just completely transported to this character's journey to hell and back. Ellen Burstyn in Requiem for a Dream, what a phenomenal performance for the ages. I do think it's the finest acting Oscar nomination of the 2000s that didn't win. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my list of the finest acting Oscar nominations of that decade? Is there anyone I left off the list? I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.